Talk to a guy who has slept with a lot of women, who's had a lot of one-night stands, has a lot of booty calls and friends with benefits arrangements. If you still suffer under the delusion that women are better than men, that women are pure, angelic, virtuous, sensitive, delicate creatures, and you want a guaranteed trial by fire, quick and painful way to destroy that illusion, talk to the guy who has a lot of casual, short-term relationship flings with women. When I was 15 years old, I had a crush on this girl, and for about 2 months, my heart was absolutely set on her, and I would, always watch how I interacted with her, always trying to make a really good impression. One night, I went to a high school party, and she was there, and I thought, yes, all right, this is my night, I'm going to make my move. I was standing in a group of people, talking with her, doing my thing, trying to show her how polite and likable I was. Whatever. Anyway, this guy comes and sits down in a chair behind us, really drunk, really loud, really obnoxious, and I kid you not, he starts calling her fat. All these comments about her appearance and her weight, criticizing the clothes that she's wearing, just putting it out there. No shame. And I cringed for him. I was so embarrassed on his behalf. I had to look away. I thought, oh, this guy has zero social skills. My God, how embarrassing for him. He has no idea how to make people like him. I thought that it was an absolute disaster. Now, this is a true story. I promise you, this absolutely blew my world apart when I was a young man. I turned away and I started talking to somebody else for like a minute. And then, out of curiosity, I turned back around and what do I see but this girl sitting on his lap, making out with him furiously, like dirty kissing, like all over him. This amazing girl that I'd nursed this crush on for months. How could this sweet, pure girl, the object of my affection, be making out with some cocky, loud, drunk guy after he called her fat and did all that stuff? At 15, I had no idea how to make sense of that. Of course, now, 18 years later, I know exactly how to make sense of that. Here's what happened. You see, my hormones are raging. I'm a teenage boy, and the intensity of my biological desire for her, tricked my mind into thinking and believing that this woman was way more special and, incredible and virtuous and unique than she actually was. I wasn't seeing the real girl. I was seeing my own fantasy, a delusion. She was just a regular girl. Probably not even that. She was probably a lower quality girl with, low self-esteem because she responds to men who treat her this badly. Or maybe that's not the case. Maybe she wasn't even responding to his rudeness. She was just responding to his confidence, because he was so assertive and so strong in his frame and so obviously different from all the other, shy, timid teenage boys that surrounded her, treating her like she was like a museum object that had to be handled with delicacy and care. And here he was like a bull in a china shop. I did not resent the guy at all. Not at all. I was pissed at her. For a short period, I was really angry. I was like, oh my God, I feel so betrayed. I thought so highly of you. How could you do this? How could you betray me? I don't know. I made it personal, whatever. But I never felt resentful towards the guy. I was impressed. And he was a decent enough guy, like a bit out there, but we became friends. We would hang out together. He would invite me on the weekends of school to come and hang out with him, and some girl would always be a different girl, always stunning, gorgeous girl. He just seemed to know so many of them. And we'd go to the beach and we'd go to the movies, and I'd witness him behave in basically the same way. Really cocky, really arrogant, always teasing them and insulting them. And like my heart would be like, ugh, I can't believe you can say that to women. He wasn't cruel or vindictive. He was just sort of like self-amusing, and he really didn't seem to care what they thought or how they'd respond. And for the life of me, I could never see them ever get upset at him. They loved it. They thrived on the attention. The worse he treated them, the more he teased them, the more they were all over him. This guy, he gave me such an important lesson at such a really young age, because he showed me that just because I've got these biological desires that are so intense for me, to be around in physical proximity with women, that doesn't actually make them special or unique or pure or anything like that. They're just regular humans. You see, a lot of young men, they grow up with this incredibly strong gender divide in their mind. They think of themselves and their own sexual desires, and they think, God, I'm so disgusting and base and superficial. If I met some hot girl, I'd probably sleep with her within 30 seconds. I don't need anything more than her to be pretty. That's how shallow I am. And then curiously, they project the exact opposite onto women. Everything that they're not, they assume that women are. And so some woman that they've had a crush on for years and they finally confess their feelings and the girl rejects him saying, sorry, I don't want to kiss you. I don't want to sleep with you because I value our friendship so much. That's the reason I don't want to do it. And he thinks, wow, she's amazing. Oh my God, I would totally sacrifice all of that just to sleep with her, but not her. She's special. She's pure. She values our friendship that much. I could never reach that kind of heights of virtue. The percentage of men on this planet who see women as they truly are is tiny, a fraction of a percentage. That's a problem because women cannot be attracted to a man who cannot see them as they truly are. They can't have an authentic connection with them. They're not attracted to men who aren't in touch with reality. If a man is still lost in his delusional fantasy and projecting all of that onto a woman, placing her on a pedestal, she's not going to be interested in him. Men like that get nervous around women. They're afraid to assert themselves in front of women. They don't want to show masculinity or leadership or even preferences. Everything's got to be danced around, got to accommodate the woman, got to protect her. She's so delicate. A woman can't feel safe around a man like that. She wants a strong man who can confidently navigate reality, who's not afraid of confronting the facts of how the world actually is and who she is. The man who doesn't realize that she's just a normal person because he's so busy playing out this fantasy delusion in his mind, he's never going to be able to connect with her. And that there's no attraction. If you want to be successful with women, you have to see them as they truly are. And the quickest way for you to do that is to talk to a guy who's slept with a lot of women. Listen to his stories. Listen to his experiences. Let him tell you his observations about female nature and behavior. So maybe in your experience, women never have one-night stands because they're not as degenerate as men. Men, they could move straight to the physical thing, no problem. But women, they're deeper than that. You see, they require an emotional connection first. They want some kind of commitment. That's why they don't sleep with you quickly. Well, if you find one of these guys who sleeps with women all the time, his life and the stories he could tell you will blow your world apart. He'll tell you stories of women getting undressed in the taxi ride home, having sex in the club bathroom, doing crazy, depraved, degenerate sexual acts, the sort of stuff that you thought only happened on your computer screen. He's had sex with women while her boyfriend was in the next room. He's had sex with women who didn't even know his name. They didn't ask him to use protection. He was hugely drunk. So was she. Doesn't matter. Go for it. This stuff happens. I know if you have a strong attachment to your beliefs about, female purity, you don't want to hear this. But that pain that you're experiencing right now, that is the breaking of an illusion. And beyond that is reality. And I promise you, the truth is good for you. It's going to set you free. Just because a woman doesn't do that with you doesn't mean she doesn't do it with another guy. The woman is the same, but she's going to change based on the man that she's interacting with. Think of that side of women, the side that is wildly promiscuous, totally sexually submissive, happy to be degraded. Think of that side of her as a secret compartment that can only be unlocked by a particular type of man. The guy who's tall, confident, wealthy, great social skills, lots of status, ideally some fame. He's got lots of options. He's overtly sexual. I tell you this as an absolute fact. Women are hardwired to respond sexually to those kinds of men. You can't blame them. That's just in their biology. This isn't about hating women or judging them. This is just education. When you talk with one of these guys who sleeps with lots of women, you realize that side is basically his entire experience of the female gender. And just because you don't get to see it doesn't mean that it's not there. Now, this next part's important. I'm not saying that women are inherently immoral or degenerate or anything like that. All I'm saying is that the illusions that you have of women being pure and perfect and all of that, I'm saying that's a lie. If a woman ever pretends that she does not have those instincts and she would never respond to that kind of a man, she's either not self-aware at all or she's consciously lying to you. But here's the thing. This is the really important part. Just because she has those instincts does not mean that she's automatically going to act on them. Of course, there are some really loose women, hugely promiscuous, and who are happy to never get commitments, just get passed around by those, really suave guys, but those are the minority. The majority of women are likely to have a couple of stories, a small handful maybe, of those instances or circumstances where their rational judgment and, the virtuous person they aspire to be, that was put aside by the strength of their base desires. And they did some stuff that they later regretted, and they learned from it, and they're trying to not be that person in the future. They're trying to make better decisions. That's the majority of women. She now knows that side of herself. She's seen the way that she can act. But just because you have a desire for something doesn't mean that you're automatically going to do it. Having instincts and having desires does not define you as a person. What defines you is how you choose to respond to those desires, the actual actions that you take. So I don't judge women who have a promiscuous side and who sexually respond to those kinds of men. Of course not. How could you possibly? That's just their biology. But I do applaud women who understand that about themselves and know that it's not what's in their best long-term interest, and they aspire to be better than their base instincts. The reason that I mention this and I'm making such a big deal of it is because it is absolutely possible to overcorrect the other way, right? So like if you've got this guy and he says, well, I used to think women were absolutely perfect angels, but then my ex-girlfriend cheated on me, and it turns out that while I was having regular, boring, vanilla lovemaking, she was giving the absolute porn star experience to this other guy, so now I can't trust women because they're all degenerate sluts. That's not what's going on. I mean, I'm sorry that that happened to you. That's an awful story. That really, really sucks. But with that kind of generalization, you've swung too far the other direction. Women are not evil or degenerate, but they're also not perfect angels. They're just regular humans like you and me. They've got their flaws. They're probably some traumatic experiences in their childhood, but generally are aspiring to be better people. As a man, you have instincts for violence, for exploitative selfishness, for indiscriminate sexuality, but you're not defined by the fact that you have those instincts inside you. You're defined by whether or not you choose to rise above those instincts. The conscious, rational choices that you're making, that shows what kind of a man you are. A high-quality woman's the same. She has those base impulse desires, she knows that part of herself, but she consciously chooses to act in a different way. I understand if you've been burned or if you've lost your trust with women, this can be hard to appreciate this nuance. And, one of the hallmarks I feel like of my channel is I do a good job of walking people back from the brink. If they've been too lost in anger, I like to think that I bring them back to what is a reasonable reality. If you need some help with that, like you feel like you're going too far down the one path, hit me up on Hey Hero. Send me your story, ask your questions, ask your advice. I'll send you a personalized video in response. So in summary, any deviation from reality is a bad thing, and it's going to hugely inhibit your ability to attract women in the dating market and to form authentic connections with them if you're lost in a fantasy delusion, thinking that they're better than they actually are. If you want to destroy that illusion, the quickest way for you to do it is to talk to those guys who are intimately familiar with that side of women that you've been denying exists. Listen to his stories about how many women he slept with, the circumstances that he slept with them, the kind of things that they did in the bedroom together. Let it all wash over you. Let the pain come, because that pain is going to free you. It's going to hurt, of course, but that pain is temporary. It's just you grieving your delusions, but you're going to grow back stronger. Temporarily, you might actually lose interest in dating women. That definitely happens. But when you eventually do come back to the dating market, you're not going to be using women as props for your fantasy. You're going to have realistic expectations about what a relationship can actually bring you. And I promise you, it's going to be more fulfilling and more meaningful. There are high quality women out there. Extremely rare, no doubt. I'm not saying it's the majority. But I'm saying that if you get intimately familiar with that side of women that you're uncomfortable with, if you know what makes a woman low quality, you're going to be in such a better position to appreciate the high quality woman when she does finally come along. Some guy recently asked me, why don't women pay attention to men that they're not interested in? Why do women, as the default response, just seem to ignore men? Really interesting question. There is a psychological component and there's a practical component that relates just to their safety. Anyway, this is the topic of my latest Patreon video. I go into a lot of depth on this. Really great video. Check out all the topics you get in my Patreon. It's $5 a month. It's tremendous value. Great way to support the creator. I would love to see you over there.